What's up guys, this is TheKephas, and I am legally blind. The two most common questions I get asked about life as a visually impaired person have to do with either work or romance. And since we've already spent 2 episodes focusing on the former, in this video we're going to be discussing the latter. I've always been a romantic at heart, even at a young age. Honestly, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I had a lousy dad. He was an abusive alcoholic, and he ran off long before I was speaking full sentences. But growing up with that knowledge instilled in me a desire to be everything that he wasn't, which was a good man, a good husband, and a good dad. I've always wanted that for my life, and the older I got, the more I wanted it. By high school, I was way into girls, but I was also extremely shy. You already feel awkward enough in high school, and being visually impaired made it 10 times worse. At least for me. I mean, I was carrying around books that were half my size, and I was pretty much the only kid in my class that couldn't drive. That and a number of other things just made me feel really uncomfortable at the time. And I was friends with a lot of guys that had girlfriends. I just didn't see myself as being one of those guys. So when I did finally muster up the courage to ask a girl out, and she turned me down politely because she had a boyfriend, I took it really hard. Way harder than I should have. I just assumed that girls didn't want to have anything to do with me. I mean, why would they? Why would they want to be with a blind guy when there were so many guys that weren't blind that they could go out with? Stupid. And I found out later on that that dumb way of thinking cost me a number of opportunities with different girls who would have gladly said yes had I only asked. My failure to see past my own blindness made me assume that other people wouldn't see past it either, and that was the wrong way to think. But graduating high school did not make things any easier. You see, romance is a game of opportunity. The more opportunities you have, the more likely you are to find romance. High school provided a lot of opportunities, and now that it was gone, my chances for finding love plummeted faster than The Walking Dead's audience rating. As a legally blind guy who couldn't drive and was taking college courses at home, I didn't really get out much. Fortunately, I was really involved with my church at the time, and I did date a couple of girls there. My first experience was a typical high school relationship. To make a long story short, I was young and in love, I got dumped, I got my heart broken, and then I got over it. My next relationship happened a couple years after high school, so I was a bit older and had a little bit of a better handle on who I was and what I wanted for my life. I also met this girl at church, but eventually our values clashed, and she was wanting things from the relationship that I just wasn't ready for, which ultimately led to me ending the relationship, to the utter shock of my close friends and family, and to me as well, because we had all known how badly I wanted to find someone. But this whole experience made me realize that it's not just about finding someone, it's about finding someone that's right for me, and in return, someone that I am good for. So after that, I was actually okay with being single, because I believed that if I just lived my life and do the things I loved, it would eventually lead me to the right person. So for the next several years, I just lived life. I was, for the most part, happy. But I still had this nagging thought that I would never be truly happy until I found someone, and living life with a disability would just be so much easier if I had someone there to help me. But I did my best to ignore those thoughts and live life as happy as I could. And then, one day, my best friend in the world had to go and get an idea in his head. You see, there was this girl from church who had been around for quite a long time, and we had known each other for years. And he thought that we would make the perfect couple. But it was something that never really occurred to either of us, so it didn't really go anywhere. Lo and behold, over the next couple of weeks, I found myself running into her more often. And then I found myself going out of my way to run into her more often. And the more I was around her, and the more I talked to her, the more I started to think how awesome she was. And as time went on, she went from being awesome to being amazing. And it was at this point that I started to get a little scared, because I was really starting to like this girl and I didn't know what to do. But eventually I just knew I had to let her know how I felt about her. So I did. And it did not go in my favor. She just was not ready for a relationship, and that really sucked because I was. Specifically for one with her. But no means no, so I stepped back to lick my wounds and then move forward. A couple months later, we started to talk again, you know, as friends. But it didn't take long for those friendly conversations to become somewhat flirty conversations. And it just really seemed like there was something between us. Even our mutual friends were noticing it. And it wasn't like my feelings for her had gone away. But unfortunately, history would repeat itself, and I found myself in the exact same spot I was in the first time. The thing is, I knew she wasn't intentionally trying to hurt me. She just didn't know what she wanted. We all have to grow in life. You know, we all have to mature. But I knew that I needed to break the cycle that had been going on now for a couple of years, and do some growing myself. So I decided to walk away from her, and walk away from anything in my life that would lead me to her, so that I could heal and move forward. And it turned out to be the right move, and I knew that it was because it didn't take long for me to start feeling better. And over the next few months, I was really starting to get a handle on my life. I had been living on my own for several years at this point. I was working, I was cooking, cleaning, going to the store, doing everything for myself without any help. I had achieved complete independence. For the first time in my life, I was truly happy, and I didn't feel like I needed anybody else to make me happy. This became even more apparent to me after going on a date with a girl. During our date, she asked me what I liked to do, and I told her that I liked playing video games and making YouTube videos. Her response was a slightly condescending snicker, followed by, "That's silly." And she was a bit put off later on when I wasn't interested in a second date. But you see, gaming and YouTube are big parts of my life, and anybody that thinks that's silly doesn't need to be in it. And that's when I realized that I like the person that I am, and I like what I do, and I'm not changing the things I like about myself for anybody. And if that's what it takes to have someone in my life, they can hit the road. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you have in your life is the one you have with yourself. And if someone else is going to be in your life, they've got to love you for you. Whether it's your disability, like blindness, your moral values, or your hobby playing video games, they've got to accept you for who you are. And you've got to do the same for them. And if that can't happen, it's never going to work out. But I realized that I was happy with myself, with or without a relationship. And it made it so much easier to live life. Life was good. And for a while, I didn't think things could get any better. And then one day, there she was. This time, we were both ready. And we both knew what we wanted. And that was the day that my life truly began. But that is a story for another day in the life of the legally blind. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. You can also subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter at TheKephas to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful day, this is Kephas, until next time.